Party Crochet Along. I'm Jess from Make and Do Crew, and I've partnered with my friends at Lion Brand to create this 4-part free pattern and video tutorial series. Last week we crocheted the back, and this week we're going to be finishing off the body of the sweater. Remember that if you have any questions as you work, feel free to join us in the Facebook group, and down below you can find the link to part 2 of the free written pattern, as well as the link to the ad-free printable PDF. Alright, let's get started on our cardigan fronts. The process of finishing the body uses all the same skills we learned in part 1. You'll need to make 2 more full-length strips for your cardigan fronts and then 2 shorter strips for the side underarm sections of the sweater. I'm not going to cover those strips in this video though, because you can just pop back to part 1 for a refresher if you need it. While you're watching this video, you'll definitely want to check out part 2 of the free written pattern, because that'll give you the precise stitch and row counts that you need for your sweater size. Alright, once you have all the strips of the body complete, you want to go back to having the wrong side of your sweater facing up, which I have right here, and you're going to put the next strip that you want to join on either side of your fabric piece, and then repeat that same process. Pin at the intersections, use a yarn tail from the top if possible, and then work those stitches all the way down to the bottom. And we're going to use that same technique to join each section of our sweater so that you end up with something that looks like this. You have here the front armhole, back armhole, and the second front. When you've got your front, underarms, and back strips all joined, it's time to connect the shoulder seams here. So you can see I've got my fronts, and I have the wrong side of the fabric facing out right now. So again, we can tell that because I'm looking at the bottom foundation, and I'm seeing the back of that first row of stitches, and then also I can see a little bit of my seams here. They're a little more invisible on the right side. So I've got the right side safely tucked inside here, and I've put 2 pins at the top to make sure I get those nice crisp corners when I work my shoulder seam. And once again, we can use either tail that's left over. You will have 1 or 2 at the top, and you can use that so you don't have to connect another piece of yarn. So I've got my tapestry needle threaded on one of those tails here, and the wrong sides of my sweater facing out. And now I'm just going to line up my stitches and work back and forth through the top loops, both top loops of every stitch as they line up. So if you can see here, I'm working under the V, the top V of that stitch, the top V of the next stitch right here, and pulling that through. So this is just a regular sewing stitch working back and forth. We're just going to work in and out like that all the way to the end of our strip. And as you're doing this, you can kind of play with the tension, because you want it definitely tight enough that when there's the weight of the sweater hanging there, it doesn't show the seam. But at the same time, you don't want to pull it so tight that it is bunchy. So just experiment a little bit with how tight you want to pull those stitches, and work all the way down this row until you get over here, and then you can fasten off and weave in this tail, because we won't need it again, and that will be 1 fewer tail to deal with later. And once you've gotten both shoulders joined, turn your little vest right side out, and this is really important. Run to the nearest mirror and try it on, because it's going to be so motivating to see where your sweater is headed, and this is the first moment that you can really see the skeleton of a cardigan coming together. Okay, you've come so far, and I bet your sweater pieces are starting to actually look like something you could wear. We'd love for you to share your progress on Instagram using the hashtag PatchworkPartyCardi, and be sure to tag us so we can see your stitches. Next week, we'll learn how to make the sleeves of our cardigans. If you can't wait to continue, you can find the complete pattern with all 4 stages in the printable PDF linked below. Until then, happy crocheting!